Dear students, here I am with a new lecture from the chapter Leaves and Atmosphere of the course Plant Physiology 1. Today I will discuss about the gaseous exchange that occur at the leaf level, which mechanism is involved and how this process is regulated in the plants. I am Dr. Smina Mahmood, Assistant Professor Botany at the University of Education, Lahore. So our today's learning objectives are to understand what is actually the gaseous exchange, how the mechanism of stomatal regulation is operated in the leaves, and which factors are involved, which affects the stomatal regulations in. So let's start. First, I will explain what is the gaseous exchange. The diffusion of gases from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration is called gaseous exchange. And gaseous exchange occurs in all type of plants, animals, and humans. As I told you in when I explained you the process of respiration, that it is compulsory and necessary for all the living organisms to maintain their life. And in case of plant, as we are concerned with the plants with relevancy to the botany, a subject of botany. So in plants, stomata are the controlling points which control the almost 95% gaseous exchange that occur in the plants, and these stomatas are present in the stomata. When studied in deep, it is observed that the epidermis of leaves contain pores that provide a way for the exchange of gases between the internal air space and the ambient environment. And the opening, which are called stomata, is bordered by a pair of unique cells called guard cells. In most cases, the guard cells are in turn surrounded by an other layer of specialized cells which are called epidermal cells or subsidiary cells. The stoma, together with its bordering guard cells and subsidiary cells, collectively it is referred to as stomatal complex or stomatal apparatus. Now we can also calculate the stomatal index, which is represented in the form of percentage, and its formula is S over S plus E into 100, where S represents the number of stomata which is present in per unit area, which we want to in the area which we want to determine the density of the stomata of a particular leaf. And E is represents the overall epidermal area and all type of issues including stomata which are present in that specific area of that particular leaf. So here this picture is self-explanatory. Here I will explain you first the structure of leaf with reference to the stomata, and then I will explain you the structure of stomata. Here you can see in the picture it is the cross section of the leaf, and here you can see this is the phloem and xylem, which is xylem and phloem, which is involved in the conduction of water and minerals and nutrients, and it is called vascular bundle. And here the different types of different layers of the cells, which are palisade mesophyll cells and spongy mesophyll cells, and these cells are actually involved in the process of photosynthesis and respiration. And the holes which are not so much clear in this picture, and here if we see the more elaborated picture of the same section, here we can see that there is an outermost layer which is called epidermis, and the lowermost surface area which is called lower epidermis. Means the whole area which is present in between is sandwiched between the upper and lower epidermis. Upper epidermis also contain an other layer which is called waxy cuticle, which makes the surface of the leaves impermeable for the penetration of all kind of gases. So Here, if the layer is present on all the leaves, then and it has the impermeability, means no gas can exchange or cross through this. Then how gases are exchanged through leaves? So here we can see a specific type of pores or holes are present in the epidermis. So which are embedded in this cuticle waxy layer. So through these holes only the gases can cross, can get inside, and can comes outside from the leaf surface. And if we go see the other parts, here we can see this is the spongy part. It has many air spaces, like here you can see these are called spongy mesophyll cells, which are basically involved in the process of photosynthesis. And these are the longitudinal sections. These are called palisade mesophyll layers, and they also contribute in the process of respiration. And this is the vascular bundle, which is based on xylem and phloem overall. Now we are more concerned with the gaseous exchange, and here we learned that gaseous exchange occur through the stomata. So here we can see the structure of stomata. Here we can see clearly a hole inside, which is called stoma, and it is covered by two lobe shaped bean shaped or lobe shaped figure, which is called god cells. And god cells are further covered by an other layer of cell, which is called epidermal layer or subsidiary cell, as I told you in the last slides. Here it is very important to note that this when this hole or stoma is open, it is called stomata is open, and gases can exchange. And if this hole is not present or it is closed by these two god cell, then it is called stomata is closed, and no gas can exchange through this. And in next part I will explain you how this hole opens and close based on different aspects of life. Here, a god cell and epidermal cells have specific properties due to which they participate in the opening and closing of this hole, that is stroma. And as I explained you previously, that this stroma, this guard cell, and this epidermal cell, this collectively it is called stomatal apparatus. Here, guard cell is interestingly contain the chloroplast, the nucleus, and other few other organelles, and it is also not having the even surface of their outer membrane. It is thin from the inside and thick from the outside, and as it has the chloroplast, so it can also photosynthesize in the presence of light. But the epidermal cells, they having the even surface, outer surface, and they don't have any nucleus and chloroplast and other organelles in its structure. So it has other other roles in the process of opening and closing of stomata as compared to the guard cell. Guard cell is the have more pronounced or prominent effect on opening and closing of the stoma or stomata. So there are here are some properties of the stomata. Stomatas are found in the leaves, and they control more than 90% of the gaseous exchange. Guard cells act as a hydraulically operated valve. Hydraulically operated valve means water concentration. Basically regulates, which is called technically the tugger pressure, which controls the movement of the stomata. The frequency and distribution of stomata is also variable in the leaves. It may vary from 20 to 400 or even more in the millimeter in the millimeter square. and it depends on the number of factors. For example, which type of species is involved, the position of the leaf, either it is on the crown or on the in between, or it is on the downward position, what is the age of the plant, what is the pleiady, and what is the growth condition, means it is a young plant or it is an old type of tree. And also we learned that plants are divided into monocots and dicots, and likewise their properties of the plant also differ. So in monocots, the whose example is the grasses, which contain and the stomata on the above and below surface, which are equally almost equally in number, and upper surface is called adaxial and the lower surface of the leaf is called abaxial. And if the both surfaces of the leaf, that is the above surface and the below surface, contain the equal number of stomata, then this situation is called isostomatous leaf. And if the above and below surface of the leaves, they do not contain the equal number of the stomata, then this situation is called heterostomous leaf, which is mostly present in the dicots and which usually have on stomata on both surfaces. However, the frequency of the stomata on the lower side of the leaf is almost double or more as compared to the upper part of the leaf. Most woody dicots and tree species have stomata only on the lower surface only, and if the situation is considered in case of floating leaves which float on the water, in that leaves mostly the stomata are present on the upper surface of the leaf. And this situation, when the stomata are present on the upper surface of the leaf, it is called epistomatous leaf. And when the plants are completely submerged, means they are completely dipped into the water, then in that situation they don't need pores for the exchange of the gases, as they are submerged into the water, so they don't have stomata at all. A fully open stomatal pore typically measures 5 to 15 micrometer wide and about 20 to 20 micrometer long, and the combined pore area of the open stomata thus amounts to no more than 0.5 to 2% of the total area of the leaf. The stomatal ratio is the ratio of the stomatal frequency on the upper surface to the lower surface of the leaf, means the number of stomata which are present on the upper surface of the leaf compared to the number of stomata present on the lower surface of the keeping the same facts into the mind, we can calculate the rate of diffusion of the leaf, which is abbreviated as and denoted by D dash A multiplied with dc over dx ratio, where D is the diffusion coefficient, A is the surface area over which diffusion occurs, and dc over dx ratio is the concentration gradient over which diffusion occurs. So here we can see diffusion. Number one, we can see that all these factors, that is the surface area and the concentration, they have the direct they are directly proportional to the surface area and the concentration gradient to the rate of diffusion. And the otherly concentration gradient is very important for the process to operate, because when the concentration gradient will exist when plants near the exchange, then exchange will occur and stomata will regulate this exchange. Now, we learned that stomata is very important with reference to the exchange of gases. Then it is compulsory to know how they do open and close in response to different stimuli. So there are four theories usually exist that explain the opening and closing of the stomata. The first theory is the photosynthesis in the god cell. The second one is the starch sugar interconversion theory. The third one is the glycolate metabolism, and the fourth one is the active potassium ion transport. Now, to explain the first theory in detail, that is the photosynthesis hypothesis. Here you can see the structure of the guard cell. When I explained you the guard cell, I told you that the chloroplast is present and other organelles are also present in the guard cell, which differentiate the guard cell from the subsidiary cells or epidermal cells, which are present next to the guard cells. And when the chloroplast is present, it means that it can photosynthesize, and for photosynthesis we know that the plants require water in the presence of sunlight, and then they can photosynthesize the sugars, and they liberate the oxygen by utilizing carbon dioxide. So when the process of photosynthesis occur, they need water that comes from the outer environment, which through the process of endoosmosis travels from higher concentration, which is from the cell, towards the lower concentration, which is in the guard cell. So as a response, turgor pressure of the guard cells increases and they swell in their structure, and in response of this stiffness of the guard cells stoma is open and it is called stomatal opening. But there are some deficiencies in this hypothesis. For example, it is failed to explain the relationship of the concentration of carbon dioxide with the opening and closing of the stomata. And as in the night, concentration of carbon dioxide is higher as compared to the daytime, because during daytime photosynthesis and respiration, they both operate side by side, so they utilize the product of each other. But in night, process of photosynthesis is vanished, but process of respiration is continued. So the respiratory product, that is the carbon dioxide, is produced inside the cell and exported outside. But it is also observed there is huge concentration of carbon dioxide in night, but stomata are usually closed in night. So it fails to explain this relationship and this closure of the stomata. Secondly, although chloroplast is present in the guard cell, but it is not fully established system, so it cannot photosynthesize in huge quantity as compared to the other parts of the leaves. So no doubt it can photosynthesize, but it cannot support this hypothesis that it operated in such a huge quantity, and in response there is a great turgor pressure, and guard cells get stiffed and they open the stomata. Next theory based on these criticisms, this is launched, which is called sugar starch interconversion hypothesis, which is basically explains the guard cell is during day and night and have low during a starch and sugar contents of the cell, and due to the presence of the starch and sugar contents of the leaf, there is the fluctuation in the pH of the guard cell. So this interconversion of the sugar into starch and starch into sugar, they fluctuate the pH of the cell, and in response to this fluctuation, guard cells open and close. And so in detail, the during daytime carbon dioxide, which is released in the respiration, is utilized in the process of photosynthesis. So the concentration of carbon dioxide around the guard cell is not too much high. As a result of this, starch get converted into the glucose, and as a result pH rise in the guard cell, and it obtained the alkaline pH, due to which guard cells need water to be absorbed from the outside environment. So turgor pressure of the guard cells increases as a result of this increase in the pH. While in the dark, when there is the maximum concentration of the carbon dioxide, and there is no sunlight and no photosynthesis process occur, and in the presence of carbon dioxide, it get converted into carbonate by the use of different enzymes, and as a result pH get lowers in the guard cells, and it becomes acidic, and due to this acidity, sugars also get converted into the starch, which is an other forcing pressure on the guard cells, and due to this acidity of the pH and the presence of more starch as compared to the sugar, they put pressure on the trigger pressure, and the in response guards are get flaccid and they closed. And other investigation shows the role of the phosphorylase enzyme, which when I explain you the whole process of transpiration, I explain you the role of phosphorylase in the process of glycolysis, in which it get convert or metabolize the complex forms of the substrate into the simple glucose form, which can enter into the process of respiration. So as a result of the use of phosphorylase, it get converted into glucose 1 phosphate, which is required during daytime to change the pH of the cell and increase the osmotic needs of the cell during daytimes. This picture explains the variation during day versus a night. Here, during daytime, the respiration and photosynthesis occur side by side, so the concentration is of the carbon dioxide is not too much, and pH gets alkaline. And in this situation, guard cells, which contains during nighttime, they contain starch, and in the presence of higher alkaline environment, they convert the starch into the sugar form, which increases the osmotic concentration of the guard cell, and as a result, endoosmosis guard cells become turgid and pores open. But during night time, when respiration occurs, but there is no photosynthesis, so carbon dioxide concentration is higher. As a result, acidity of the cell increases. So in that response, guard cells which contains sugar which are synthesized during daytime, they get converted into the starch, which is not soluble in water, and as a result osmotic concentration of the guard cells decrease and exosmosis occur in the guard cells, due to which guard cells get flaccid and pore is. There are also, although it explains several factors during the opening and closing of the stomata, however, there are some critics. Glucose 1 phosphate is considered compulsory for this conversion, but it is observed that until the glucose 1 phosphate get completely converted into the glucose, it has no effect on the target pressure. Secondly, there is no proof for the reverse conversion of the glucose to the starch in night. And when it is observed when starch disappears, and we see and it is explained by the author that glucose 1 phosphate is prepared, but in practical examination malic acid is observed in place of this glucose 1 phosphate product in the guard cells. And other interesting investigation is the inorganic phosphate is present in the guard cell, which can create the same level of the target pressure in the guard cell as the glucose do in completely metabolized form. So starch and some seeds of the monocots also, they don't have starch, and it this hypothesis also fails to explain the rising of the pH of the guard cell just on the basis of the concentration of the carbon dioxide only. And sugars never noticed in the cell sap of the guard cell during the opening of the stomata. It means there is no quick conversion from day and night when the sunlights come, and they get quickly converted from the starches to the sugar. The quick opening in the morning in the presence of light, this hypothesis fails to explain this conversion from starch to sugar. And the same starch sugar interconversion is very slow, which does not affect the quick stomatal movement. So theory overall do not explains the effectiveness of the spectra of life in the stomatal opening and closing. It means there is some specific light which have more pronounced effect. For example, the blue light, in the presence of blue light, stomata get open quickly as compared to the other wavelengths of light. So here is the third theory, that is the glycolate metabolism, and this is very simple. Under the low concentration of carbon dioxide, glyoxylates are produced in the cell during the daytime. So glycolate give rise to the carbohydrates that rising the osmotic pressure, and also that it could participate in the production of ATP, which is required for the opening and closing of the stomata. And this glycolate might provide this required energy for the opening and closing of the stomata. However, some critics that some plants do exhibit opening of the stomata in night, and they close their stomata during day, for example in some succulent plants. So this hypothesis fails to explain this opening and closing during day and night. And also this hypothesis also do not explains the effectiveness of the light of the especially with reference to light. The last and fourth theory is the that is called potassium ion exchange, or potassium pump, or maltase hypothesis. This in this malic acid, which I explained you before, that it is quickly produced in place of the sugar early in the morning, and it is a weak acid which is produced from the metabolism of the starch. It dissociates the malate ions and protons, and these protons are exerted from the guard cells and potassium ions in response to the exchange. Potassium ions get entered into the guard cells, and protons they get released from the guard cells. So, in response to this exchange, chloride ions also move into the guard cell. As a result, target pressure is increased at the guard cell level, and water moves from higher concentration towards the lower concentration. Also, a hormone cytokines is also present during daytime that promotes the growth during daytime. So, in the presence of cytokines and in the presence of potassium and chloride ion in the guard cell, the water moves from higher concentration towards the lower concentration into the guard cell, and they guard cells get uh, stiff, and stomata get open. But during night, in the absence of light, when photosynthesis do not occur, this potassium pump get into reverse or backward direction. So potassium moves out of the guard cells, and chlorides ion also. So the back there is the protons move into the guard cell. As a result, target pressure of the cell reduce. So water moves from the guard cell towards the cell where the concentration is lower, and the demand of water is more. So as in response to this, and in the presence of an enzyme that is called abscisic acid, which is called growth inhibitor, in the presence of this enzyme, and this lower potassium and chloride ions into the guard cells get flaccid, and in response to this, stomata get closed in night. So far, potassium ion exchange mechanism has been reported to operate in all type of plants so far tested, and appear to be the free from criticism. Photosynthesis, the guard cells they generate ATPs, and they also utilize the carbon dioxide in the process of photosynthesis. So pH increase, and in the presence of alkaline pH, and in the presence of this, the potassium get entered into the guard cells, and protons get excreted from guard cells to the other parts of the cell. So high pH photosynthesis, high and the concentration of carbon dioxide. These all factors, they put pressure on the guard cell to increase and maintain their target pressure, and in response, the stomata will open. But in night, they lose the guard cells lose the potassium ions, and they decrease the solute concentration. As a result, the water potential increases and target pressures decrease, and water moves from the guard cell to the other parts of the cells through exosmosis, and turgidity of the guard cells decreased and stomata get. So here you this is again the same elaboration. As you can see, this is the closing and the opening of the stomata, how they open, and it explains the proton pump. When the stomata get are closed, actually proton pump get activated in the presence of light. Potassium get enter into the cell, water get into the guard cell through endosmosis, and these are and in the presence of blue light especially. And I told you this is the energy intensive process, so ATPs are utilized which get converted into ADP. So as a response, turgidity is attained in the guard cells and stomata get open. And when there is a night, potassiums get out from the guard cells, water comes out through exosmosis. So the turgidity of these guard cells reduced as a reduction of the target pressure, and stomata get closed. So, what are the factors which affect the stomatal regulations? So, there are seven factors, that is the light, temperature, carbon dioxide concentration, oxygen concentration, water availability, potassium, and mechanical shocks and hormones. As I explained you, mostly the stomata are open when there is a light is present. If there is a high rise in the temperature, then in that situation, just to avoid the loss of water, stomata get closed. And when the carbon dioxide concentration is low, so it induces the stomatal opening, and vice versa. In closed stomata, external carbon dioxide has no effects. And likewise, the oxygen concentration, as like carbon dioxide concentration, both are considered in the process of photosynthesis and respiration, so they are always talked about side by side. So high oxygen concentration induces the stomatal opening, and vice versa. Water availability, water stress plant get their stomata closed just to save the water and lower of the water potential in the epidermal cells. And potassium, I told you, it is very important factor. So potassium pump actually regulates the stomatal opening and closing, and so influx of the potassium causes the opening of the stomata, while efflux means removal of the potassium from the guard cell causes the closure of the stomata. Any kind of mechanical shock also causes the stomata to get closed. And the hormones, abscisic acid, which is called a growth inhibitor, if it is present, it closes the stomata. And cytokines, which is considered the growth operator or promoter, so if it is present, it guides opening of the stomata. I these three books, it is a very interesting topic. I prepared this lecture from these three books. If you are interested, you can also go through these books. Thank you.